My third story is about death. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." It made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that is incurable, and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. My doctor advised me to go home and get my affairs in order, which is doctor's code for prepare to die. It means to try and tell your kids everything you thought you'd have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up so that it will be as easy as possible for your family. It means to say your goodbyes. I lived with that diagnosis all day. Later that evening, I had a biopsy where they stuck an endoscope down my throat, through my stomach and into my intestines, put a needle into my pancreas and got a few cells from the tumor. I was sedated, but my wife, who was there, told me that when they viewed the cells under a microscope, the doctors started crying because it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer that is curable with surgery. I had the surgery, and thankfully, I'm fine now. This was the closest I've been to facing death, and I hope it's the closest I get for a few more decades. Having lived through it, I can now say this to you with a bit more certainty than when death was a useful but purely intellectual concept. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It's life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you. But someday, not too long from now, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it's quite true. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary.
Steve Jobs in 2005 speaking at Stanford, and not a university he graduated from. He didn't graduate from university. Sanjay, I mean, it's so poignant, obviously, to hear him talk about death and to hear back then when he thought he was fine.
Yeah. I listened to that, and, you know, he had the operation. He had this tumor removed. He talked about the doctors literally crying when they saw the types of cells, because it was a variant, as he said, of pancreatic cancer. But even this variant, which is called a neurodermal tumor made of these specific cells of the pancreas, it's still a very difficult tumor to treat.
And the pancreas does what?
The pancreas does all sorts of things.
He in the speech admitted he didn't even know, and I had no idea when this hour
Which
started.
is something for him, because he knows seemingly everything. But it makes a lot of enzymes. It makes the enzymes that helps digest your food. It also makes a lot of hormones, including insulin, for example. So people who are diabetics, for example, have problems with their pancreas not making enough insulin insulin. It also, in part, can explain why someone is so wasted, loses so much weight because of that hormonal imbalance when people have problems with the pancreas. There's no doubt there's the very aggressive forms of pancreatic cancer where, Anderson, the numbers are terrible. I mean, they say the 1-year survival rate for some of the most aggressive forms, 20% survival at 1 year, wow. Just 4% at 5 years. So that's what it sounds like he thought he had. Again, he had a variant, but even with the variant, the numbers, it's rare, so the numbers are harder to come by, but 24 to 50%, 25 to 50%, they say, 5-year survival. So, 8 years ago, he was diagnosed back in 2003.
I mean, to think what he accomplished from the age of 21 to 56, 56 is what he was when he died, 30 more years, who knows what he would have accomplished. Ali Velshi joins us now as well. You're just joining us. It's hard to imagine what we have all lost because of his family's loss.
Yeah, you say it well, Anderson, because this isn't the normal thing that I talk about where a CEO is passed on and what's the structure of the company going to look like. We know that Apple will be fine. Fortune did a piece on Tim Cook some time ago to indicate that he's a great strength in the company and the creative value of Apple will continue. But there are very few companies in history that you can associate the name with everything that company represents, and there are very few companies in the world where you can say envelop your life the way Apple does. Some of us don't have every product that Apple makes. I'm not one of them. I think I have every product that they make, but you have something. There was a time when people invented devices so that you can carry your entire CD collection around on one device. Others did it, but Apple is the one that made everybody want it. He had a way of taking things that didn't exist and there wasn't even a need to be met, and creating a way not to do it, but to do it elegantly and in a way that everybody wanted.
Well, elegantly, Andy Storr, you were talking about how, I mean, he dropped out of college, went back to, I think, a community college to take a calligraphy course, right?
Well, he was at Reed College in Oregon, and he studied calligraphy there, Anderson. And, before that, the typing on a computer was just those block letters. And he said to the programmers, we're going to make fonts. And the programmer said, what's a font? And so, now we all take that for granted. Just another thing. But, I was struck, we were watching that Stanford video, and you were asking earlier, Anderson, what motivated him. And, well, we saw that, in part, death motivated him. And as he got sicker and sicker and realized that his time was becoming less and less, he worked more and more feverishly to create more and to produce more and more. And over the last couple of years, he really became very cognizant about passing his legacy on in terms of the company, and then working on a biography with Walter Isaacson that's coming out very, very soon,
November,
which will be interesting.
Yeah, it will be. We got to take a quick break. Our coverage continues. We'll be right back.
At